This episode is brought to you by LinkedIn. Healthcare professionals can lead their careers with LinkedIn. Discover jobs by specialty, preferred shifts, and even desired salary. From mental health therapists to radiology technicians, it's now faster and easier for healthcare professionals to find the right fit. Learn more at linkedin.com/healthcare. Side effects may include faster job placement, improved work-life balance, and increased career satisfaction.
The family that vacations together stays together. At least, that was the plan. Except now, the dastardly desk clerk is saying he can't confirm your connecting rooms.
Wait, what?
That's right, ma'am. You have rooms 201 and 709.
No, we cannot be 5 floors away from our kids.
The doors have double locks. They'll be fine.
When you want connecting rooms confirmed before you arrive, it matters where you stay.
Welcome to Hilton. I see your connecting rooms are already confirmed.
Hilton, for the stay.
This movie's got so many great quotes.
This movie doesn't do any of that shit.
Oh man, that scene is unbelievable.
Yep.
You've just never seen Tony Curtis like that.
I laughed at those characters. I loved it.
Welcome to episode 302 of Film Generations, where two guys from the 20th century select a classic movie to show a panel of young film lovers and see if it still plays for today's generation. I'm Mark Netter. I'm an instructor at the Los Angeles Film School, co-founder and CEO of Electrocast Media, and sometime filmmaker.
I'm David Tausick, reporting from New York, just half a mile from Times Square.
Hi, my name is Kelly LaRue, and I am a film journalist.
Hi, my name is Guy Lewis, and I love movies.
Academy Award-winning actor Burt Lancaster wasn't just a great leading man. He was a pioneering independent movie producer, and in 1957 he even cast himself as a villain, opposite an arguably equally slimy protagonist played by a young, white-hot Tony Curtis in Sweet Smell of Success. Shot on location in New York City with a screenplay by major playwright Clifford Odets, noted screenwriter Ernest Lehman of Alfred Hitchcock fame, and director of British comedies Alexander McKendrick from Lehman's novelette, it tells the caustic tale of freelance press agent Sidney Falco, played by Curtis, who relies on the most powerful newspaper columnist/radio personality in all of New York, J.J. Hunziker, who's played by Lancaster, to publish items promoting his clients. But at the start of the movie, Falco is frustrated that Hunziker is no longer writing about his clients, all because he's demanding that Sidney find a way to break up the growing romance between Hunziker's sister Susie, whom he's overly protective of, and a talented jazz guitarist played by Martin Milner. Unfolding over a single night with locations including a high-class restaurant, hip jazz club, Sidney's low-rent apartment/office, and the streets of Times Square themselves, we watch Sidney manipulate everyone around him in his desperate plan to break up the young couple and get back in JJ's good graces. It's a breathless, glamorous, and sleazy whirlwind, all set to the jazzy soundtrack of the Chico Hamilton Quintet. So, does Sweet Smell of Success earn critical raves or pans from our young film lovers? Let's find out. So I'm going to assume, Kylie and Guy, is this your first time seeing the movie?
Yeah.
Yes, but I watched it twice.
So did I.
Whoa.
Nice.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to start with you, Kylie. Why twice?
Well, the first time I watched it, I was a little confused by it. I thought it was going to be more of a serious movie, but I kind of find it more as maybe under my lens, a campy movie. Mm-hmm. I kind of felt that I wasn't grasping a lot of the themes, or that I maybe missed a line or two. I think a lot of things are implied in this movie because of the time frame, and I didn't know if I fully understood what was happening, and I want to give it a rewatch. Mm-hmm. And then when I rewatched it, I was like, okay, I think this is satirical and a lot more serious than I took it the first time. And I kind of just needed to re-listen to it and rewatch the characters and see what I missed.
And then, Guy, what was it like for you the two different times, and what drove you to watch it a second time?
Well, both times I was kind of blown. I'm always blown away by all the movies that we pick here. It's not fair. But the first time you watch it, you pay attention, you look for certain things. But when I watched it the second time, it was I kind of knew where all the punchlines were, and then it started to really pop. And then I did a little bit of research in between, and so I was looking for the things that I found out, and it was just, I don't know, just delightful the second time,
Wow. I want to hear what popped for both of you. Why don't I start with Guy?
Oh, this movie's got so many great quotes. I mean, it's so quotable, you know what I'm saying? It's
do you have a favorite line?
Oh, I have a couple. I wrote them down. You're dead, son. Get yourself buried. Oh my God. Right? I'd hate to take a bite of you. You're a cookie full of arsenic.
That's my favorite.
Oh. I mean, the delivery, I don't know. It's just like the dialogue and the pacing. I don't know if people actually really talk like that, or if it was just, hey, we got to get this movie in a certain amount of time, so we got all this dialogue. Everybody talk fast, or if that's how New Yorkers really speak.
Do you feel like they really mean it? Like they really are trying to hurt each other?
I think so. I used to be in the military, and so whenever I insulted someone I saw all the time, where it was like hilarious but super mean, that's the vibe I got from these two throwing jabs at each other. And JJ, his darts are just like incredible, just so mean. I love that guy. He's a really good character. He's awesome.
Kylie, what was it that popped for you?
The dialogue, especially with the cigarette girl, she was cracking me up. It was when she was like, Sydney, can you help me? And she's like, Sydney, do you still leave the key under your mat? And I was like, I was like, okay. I was like, okay, isn't this like where you got into the problem first? And then it was also the cigarette girl when the columnist who came over, when he was like, I think I've known you before at this time. And she made a whole big thing how she never does this, quote unquote. And then once Sydney leaves, she goes, it's Palm Springs 2 years ago. Don't tell Sydney. And I was like, oh my gosh. Like, she honestly cracked me up. And then it was obviously the sister at the end and her melodramaticness. And I laugh at those characters. I loved it.
This is so interesting to me because David and I actually had a whole discussion about the Rita thing. I didn't pick up on the fact that she had actually been with this guy before. I thought she was just sort of saying it to get through the thing. So you both had the same read on it.
Oh man, that scene is unbelievable. I mean, Tony Curtis is pimping her out. I'm just cringing. He's just the worst, slimiest.
Yep.
You've just never seen Tony Curtis like that. And the whole time you're thinking this guy is just putting the moves on her by saying, oh, where did we meet before? Oh, I'm sure it was Monte Carlo or whatever. And, you think he's just a slime ball, which he is. But then you find out, they hooked up in Palm Springs.
Yep.
Such a great twist.
Everybody's compromised. And it's so funny because that guy who plays the columnist, for people of our generation, he was Larry Tate on Bewitched. Darren's boss on Bewitched.
That's the guy. Yeah. I know I've seen that guy in something before. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
And Martin Milner ended up on Adam 12.
Yeah, the guitarist.
Kylie and Guy, you probably have never heard of Adam 12, right?
No. Well, that's where people call the cops 12 comes from.
Right. There's a TV series, which I think, because Dragnet was a hit for like 30 years, finally the other network said, okay, we need to have our own Dragnet. So another cop show set in LA.
Another Jack Webb produced show.
Yes. But this time, two cops in a squad car cruising around LA, and Martin Milner is the junior cop.
Do you remember the beginning of every episode? 1 Adam 12, man with gun.
Yes.
But Martin Milner shows much more expression in this than he did over like 5 seasons of Adam 12.
That's true.
Okay, so David, it must be gratifying to you to hear that our young panel has keyed into this picture. Because
I'm so happy because I didn't know, how people would take it, right? It's a different kind of picture. In some ways, a kind of old-fashioned sort of picture. But to me, there's something about the writing and the way it's shot that makes it very fresh for me every time I see it.
Yeah, when I saw it projected the first time, it was a little bit like lightning. And you say it's old-fashioned, but it's kind of cutting edge in terms of the characterizations. I mean, it wasn't a huge success when it came out because, well, let me ask you guys the question. This is for Kylie and Guy. Who do you root for in this movie?
Susie?
The one that you were laughing at the end?
Oh, yeah, I definitely was. She kind of seems like the most, in a way, honest character to herself. I think she's virtuous. So I was like, okay, you're just kind of doing your own thing and no one's letting you. So I kind of wanted her just to figure herself out.
I mean, she's also not necessarily the most interesting character.
But then everyone else just seemed like a villain. So I was like, I don't know if I can root for you because I feel like you're just trying to hurt this poor girl who likes a guy.
Guy, what about you?
Tony Curtis's character, he was the coolest.
I mean,
okay, so Burt Lancaster was Okay, so I can tell you what I wasn't rooting for. I wasn't rooting for the guitarist. I wasn't rooting for Susie. It was kind of a toss-up between Hudsucker and Falco, right?
I mean, did you want Sidney to get away with his plot to break up the couple?
Kinda. I know that's awful.
Kylie, what about you? Did you want him to get away with it?
I think at first I was like, oh, he must have like a legit reason for this. And then his reason for wanting his sister not to marry honestly seemed a little creepy. And like, dare I say it, it kind of gave Scarface brother and sister vibes, like a little possessive, leading towards like some sexual desire and not wanting another man to have his sister. So once I kind of realized that, I didn't want him to succeed because I think she just needs to be away from her brother.
She's rocking a mink. I mean, like, she's not going to do better.
Well, with her
You
brother?
know what I'm saying? I mean, like, she's going to... I mean, like, she's...
Wait, she can do better than her
Everything-
brother. She should
Well,
do
I mean-
everybody but her brother.
Well, she's not... I'm not saying... I'm not
That's so
saying...
weird, guys.
I'm not saying...
Guys-
That's not what I'm saying. You know what I'm saying?
Sounds
I mean,
materialistic, a little materialistic to me.
Yeah, well, no, what I'm saying is like, okay, well, one, he's a jazz guitarist, right? So that's not like a lot of money. You know what I'm saying? That's a guy on the road. Yeah, he's the musician lifestyle, right? So he's like, you know, different city every time. It's all good when it's brand new, but like 2 or 3 years in, you know what I mean? And he saw the women were just like coming up at him over and over and over and over. You know what I'm saying? So it's not like he was a great Romeo. He was kind of a douche nozzle, by the way, just to hear him talk. I mean, he wasn't cool at all. To be a jazz musician, he was real square. You know what I mean?
Well, it's interesting because you have Chico Hamilton, who's an incredible drummer and band leader of the time. I listened to Chico Hamilton's music prior to watching the movie and after. And so they just graft this actor onto the band. You know,
Well, but
as
they
the-
must have done that on purpose, right? They could have cast Sal Mineo or somebody even hipper than that, right? But instead, they cast the squarest guy on the planet. And they do that on purpose, right?
So he'd
It's
be
like
clean cut.
Yeah, that's true. It makes him more palatable, maybe, to a 50s audience. But also, he's kind of a drag.
Susie
don't you
wouldn't have
think?
been happy. I don't think she'd have been happy. You know?
Well, we have votes for breaking him up.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying?
No, I wasn't rooting for him to break them up, but I was rooting for Sydney to get out from Hunsaker's thumb and have some
Yeah.
success until he starts pimping out the cigarette girl. And then I really lost sympathy for him.
Well, that's my question, too, that I wanted to ask Kylie and Guy. How did your feelings for Sidney potentially change over the course of the movie?
I mean, he was a little mean from the get-go. Like, he immediately told his assistant to get her meaty, sympathetic arms away from him. And I was like, that is a bold thing to open up the first 5 minutes of the movie, calling a girl's arms meaty. Okay, like, who works for you and help you out. But like, I think at first I was like, okay, maybe he's just like a jerk. And then I was like, okay, he's definitely a jerk. I'm like, okay, now he's a pathetic jerk. Where like he's never really nice, and maybe people discriminate against him because I guess he was Italian in the movie from like the weird little Italian maybe jabs. So she's like, I see you're from Brooklyn, and they called you a guinea pig. But I was like, do they mean like the animal or what? So I don't know. I couldn't tell if I just like liked him because he was the main character, or if I liked him as a character, if that makes any sense.
Total. I think that's what makes the film interesting.
Yeah.
Because if this was a traditional Hollywood movie, Sidney would figure out some way to turn the tables at the end, get JJ off his back, yet allow the couples to go off together, maybe hand them some money or something to get out of town, or maybe at the very end sacrifice himself because he realized young love was so important. This movie doesn't do any of that shit.
Not at all.
So what is the genre of this movie?
Noir? From what I understand, noir is more about shading and then like unscrupulous characters. That's like a wide net of movies, you know?
I always think that to be a true noir, have to have a doomed man. Could be a woman, but there has to be like the main character has to really be doomed. And whenever I see a movie that's called a noir or neo-noir, and the character at the end comes away unscathed, or, I mean, Taxi Driver is kind of a weird case because he may or may not die at the end. But generally, I feel like somebody's got to die, otherwise it's not really a noir.
Sidney doesn't do too well in this movie, so he's kind of doomed. The whole film, you're thinking, oh, he's going to fight. he's so clever, he's fast talking, he's enterprising, he's going to figure out a way for sure. And then before the movie's over, you realize, no, it's not going to happen. He's going to fail.
Yeah, he might have been one step ahead, but then whoever was behind him jumps right over him. They always play off of what he does, so he can never get ahead of them because everyone just outsmarts him based on him and what he does. So like, there's just always someone smarter in the room who's just like, oh, no, I'll raise you one more.
Well, it's like the scene with the guy who was trying to get the cigarette girl fired when they were at the restaurant and they're sitting at the table with his wife. She's betting on the horses, and she says, "What is this, chess or checkers?" You know what I'm saying? And that line kind of just stood out. It's one of the lines that stood out to me, and I pretty much thought that Falcon was playing checkers, but Hudsucker was playing chess. You know what I'm saying? His moves are 3 or 4, 5 steps down the road, but Sydney's is like, hey, let me go to the newspaper and see what he's putting out on tomorrow's paper. Oh, well, let me use that information to get this job with this comedian. I mean, smart moves, but just real short, thought out. But he had to be that because that's the nature of his job. You know, Hudsucker was more of a kingmaker. The type of guy that had the power to destroy your business, get you fired from your musician gig, make a guy who's a senator a candidate to be, president, that kind of thing.
Hunsucker just has all the power. He holds all the cards. Falco can be as clever as he wants. There's nothing he can do about it. And at first, I thought it was like a cat and mouse game where Hunsucker's being all clever. But as the movie unfolds, I got the feeling that Hunsucker is just kind of nuts. He's a megalomaniac. And he's really acting out of that more than, it's kind of like this Donald Trump thing where you're like wondering, oh, has he got a game plan? Is he really? But then you just realize, no, the guy is just super arrogant and full of himself. And that's all the game plan he needs. He's just going to have everything his way. That's the game plan. Everything goes my way.
Well, let me ask you a question. Is there any redeemable characteristic for Hunsucker?
Well, from the speech, which could be all fake, he was kind of patriotic. He was talking about democracy and some stuff, in other words, whatever his radio show was, right? So he seems real patriotic and loyal to his family, which is, I guess that's him loyal to himself. And he's really smart and successful. I mean, like those are not bad things. I mean, like it's often traits of assholes, especially ones in America. They abuse power, but it's still not in itself bad. I mean, those are being smart and having a bunch of money is an admirable quality, I think. Or not. I'll just take that back.
Well, he kind of sees through people, right? He can read them. He reads what's happening with the senator.
He's a really smart person and very perceptive, but being that makes him like a really good manipulator. And I just don't know if he uses his smarts and his wits for anything but his own self-interest, which everybody else kind of suffers from. I don't see him using it to like really make a difference or be a good person like through the movie.
So why do you think it's so important for him to control Susie to keep her from essentially leaving him?
She's the only person that loves him. He doesn't have a wife. He doesn't have any kids. You know what I'm saying? The only person that's really in his life that he does not have his boot on their neck is Susie, But he's trying to keep that around him, but in the wrong way. You know what I mean?
And like what Susie also said to Sydney that her fiance was the only real man she's ever loved. And I kind of was like, oh, does she maybe kind of see how her brother is not super kind to people and manipulative? And was that more than just like romantic love, or was that just like genuine love for a man because of who she knows her brother to be? I don't know. I think Susie might have been a little bit more perceptive, and she was kind of just in denial whenever she was confronted face to face with who her brother actually was.
Right.
I think it's interesting that they put Burt Lancaster in those glasses because that's not normal for him. I mean, Burt Lancaster is a big physical hunk in most of his movies. And in this one, they put him in these sort of intellectual glasses. I heard a story that supposedly Alexander McKendrick, the director, smeared Vaseline on the glasses in some scenes so that Burt Lancaster wouldn't really look at anybody. He'd just have a kind of glassy stare where he wouldn't connect with any other actor in the scene.
Mm-hmm. I also read that too.
Yeah, interesting, right?
Do you guys remember how we're introduced to him? Isn't it the telephone being brought over to the table?
Oh, yeah.
The telephone.
Yeah.
That's how you know you have power. You're in a big fancy restaurant. They bring the telephone to your table. And he basically uses it as his headquarters.
We'll be right back with more Sweet Smell of Success.
I've only been to New York the one time in the last year and a half, and it's an incredibly different New York than what you see in the movie. And I think in this New York, I see it as something very dirty, slimy, more underground, even above ground, and more of like an overwhelming, looming presence, kind of like, I guess, scales everybody into something smaller and makes them feel a little bit smaller than they really are.
I've never been in New York, and is that a thing? Are all the movies that we watch, are they from New York?
Manhattan.
Rosemary's Baby.
We did Rosemary's Baby.
Midnight Cowboy.
Godfather. I mean, if that was a theme that I was supposed to pick up earlier on, I'm sorry, I'm so late to the party. But I don't think New York really played as much of a part of the film as it did in all the other ones, in my opinion.
Yeah, I agree. It could have been shot in Hollywood. I mean, there were a lot of location shots in New York, but most of the film's shot in LA on sets.
It feels like the scale for me. We're seeing all the high rises and the big buildings, like the little people who go into their little room and then all their life's in this little room, but then you go outside and it's these huge buildings and thousands of people, and it's just like one little chasm in the bigger scheme of things.
What do you guys feel about the atmosphere of being in these clubs and the restaurant?
The music in this movie was like really just great. It's a certain genre of jazz that it's just been cooler than all the other genres of jazz. It's a really cool period of time. The music just really just sings. The song that Davis plays, that they feature him playing in, well, it's not really him playing though, but it just really just sets the mood like, hey, we're all cool. Nice.
It's funny. The scene that always strikes me as kind of so New York, and I don't know again if it was shot in Hollywood or where, is the breakup scene in the diner.
Oh, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Like the fact that it's that time of night, that it's empty, it's dirty, black and white,
Yeah, I think one of the important things that are being said in New York is the feeling that the street is like a big part of this. I mean, they are like street fighting, and there's this feeling like it's definitely a concrete jungle kind of atmosphere.
Well, what do you think the movie is saying about showbiz?
It's kind of just a total facade, and it's very personal sometimes, and it is kind of grimy, and people kind of go for stabbing you in the back, and it's very much based on like how the public perceives you, and that can all depend just on one person having a grudge against you and can ruin your entire career.
Welcome to Hollywood.
Yeah.
Well, I think it has a lot of similarities to now, right? You know what I'm saying? But there's more gatekeepers now than there were before. Back then, it was the newspaper guys. There's only a certain number of newspapers. But now, everyone has access to the internet, and they can put their review of you or throw your negative information that they know in their head about you out on the internet for everyone to see. Back then, it would be one guy can make you a star, but he also can like destroy your entire livelihood. I don't know if you guys ever saw that movie, Phone Booth with Colin Farrell. You guys ever see that one?
Have not seen it.
He has a similar job as Falco, right? In Phone Booth, he's a publicist, and both those guys have the same similar slimy personalities.
Do you guys have a favorite scene in the movie?
So many. This movie slapped it all in. It's the end where he's congratulating himself when he says the sweet smell of success with all these cronies at the end right before he goes to Susie's house. That's a really dope scene. The scene where he's talking to Hudsucker and Hudsucker's like clowning him in front of the senator. And he's like, match me. and like that whole dick measuring contest between these two in public. It's just so many great. This movie was really, really great. Really, really good. So many scenes.
For me, I would definitely say it was the very last scene with Susie when she goes to like just toss herself off of the balcony, and Tony Curtis does the first good thing for the entire movie and like take her and then like pull her off the balcony, like, no, don't do it. And then she just immediately passes out and he drops her, but then she opens her eyes really quick to see where she's gonna fall. And that cracked me up. And then she collapses. That was like awesome melodrama because obviously it kind of goes into the Hensecker coming in and being manipulative and like, oh, well, I know how to frame this to make you look bad finally. And I just thought it was just such back and forth whiplash, and I really enjoyed it. And I felt like, I'm like, okay, I thought it was campy, I wasn't sure, and now I know. And I just thought it was like honestly good fun just to see the whole thing kind of wrap up in like a total of a minute and see how the story's gonna go.
She's also one of the actresses who's speaking in what my wife calls the ABA, American Bullshit accent.
Yeah.
Which is like
100%.
Slightly British, but not really.
Mm-hmm.
Very popular for actresses in the mid-century.
Well, for a little bit there, I thought Susie was kind of in on it.
Oh.
It didn't really make sense for her to go off and kill herself. Because, like, someone had to call Falco over to come to the house, right? And they never said who made that phone call, right? So part of me was thinking it was Susie, part of me was thinking it was Hudsucker. And that never became clear to me in either watch. And Susie,
I thought it was Susie.
Right,
I think so too. I think she planned that whole last scene just to get Falco.
Right. And so
That's what I think.
Makes her a more active character.
Yeah.
She kind of like changed with the manipulation game.
David, do you have a favorite scene?
Well, I already kind of talked about, I think my favorite one ends with It Was Palm Springs. There's also a scene where Hunsucker sort of shows that he's unbalanced. Falco has figured out a way to get Susie to break up. And then he's suddenly like, you can't manipulate my sister like that. You can't tell her what to do. Who are you? You're a worm. You're nothing. And you think his whole goal is to break them up and have Susie, but really he's just on some crazy ego power trip. and he's insane.
He is totally insane.
Yeah. So I like that scene because it's a real revelation of his character. It's so surprising.
Learning through play starts with Lego Duplo. With Lego Duplo, toddlers can develop real-life skills while having fun with colorful bricks made just for them. Large, easy to grip, and safe to explore. When children express themselves with Lego Duplo, they build patience, problem-solving, and empathy. See your child learn perseverance and self-expression with everything they imagine and create. Visit lego.com/preschool to learn more.
So who's the worst person in the movie?
I mean, I would say Sydney does the most dirty deeds. Like, he's just like the guy who goes, okay, and he does and figures out a way, no matter how many slimy ways he has to do it. And I think the only thing that's in Hunsucker's favor, technically, is that he's smart enough to get other people to do his dirty work.
How about the other columnist who ends up kind of screwing Sydney? He's kind of a rat, too.
Yeah.
The other
There's a lot of
columnist.
rats.
So he seems like a really good guy because he won't plant a story. He's like above all that. But then in the end, he screws Sydney. Everyone's a little bit of a rat.
I mean,
Yeah.
Sydney planting the marijuana, I thought was probably the worst
That's
thing
the
that he
worst
did.
thing, yeah.
Yeah, that's
That
messed
cop
up.
is scary, right?
Oh, yeah, well, I
see,
thought
yeah,
the
I
cop...
have
that's
a
the
question
thing.
about the cop. Is the cop the guy from Home Alone who says, like, you filthy animal?
What?
I don't know. We have to look it up.
Like, the noir cop. He's like, oh, yeah, like, Merry Christmas, you filthy animal. In Home Alone. Like, the movie that he watches.
Yeah, there's a movie
I-
clip.
The actor's name is Emil Meyer, and
Oh, is it not him?
I don't think so. I think he was maybe dead before Home Alone was made.
Oh, dang it.
I'm going to Google it.
Oh, my God. All right.
So the actor in Home Alone that says, keep the change, you filthy animal.
Mm-hmm.
That's an actor, Ralph Foodie, who admits that he was channeling Emil Meyer, who played the cop.
Oh, no way.
Whoa.
Wow, that's a
Holy
neat
shit.
fact. Okay.
Get out of here.
I think that's a win for Kylie.
Kylie gets a W. That's a big W.
Wow.
That's a big one.
I was wondering if this reminds anyone of any other movies, or is it just so cynical and kind of different from anything else that's out there?
In a way, it kind of reminds me of LA Confidential, entertainment adjacent and corrupt cop adjacent. So that just remind me of like little bits of this movie.
No,
And kind of
you're
the
right.
same
Like same
time period.
period.
Yeah.
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 Has the movie dated in any way, or is it kind of like a perfect time capsule for what it is?
Oh, I for sure think it's dated, but not in a bad way.
Explain.
Like, it's definitely set in 1950s New York. The dialogue, I don't think anybody's writing that now, not even close to it. And I think the way that they handle situations by implying so much, that's kind of, once again, like stuck in the 50s. But I think it works, though, because this is an environment that kind of existed only in the 50s, where you were writing gossip like Hedda Hopper in a magazine, in a reputable source, on paper. Like, I don't know if that really exists now as much for, like, a little online blind items on TikTok. It's dated in a way, but it works, and it's not like a bad thing.
But not dated in terms of like pacing or...
No, I mean, I do think a little bit. Yeah, I think it's a little more on like the slow burn side, I guess, because it takes place in one night, and we're only focusing on like one total plot point most of the time. But yeah, I would say if we did it now, I think it'd be a lot more fast paced and more seem like it taking place in 12 hours. Because for a second, I thought this took place over 2 days the first time I watched it. But I really don't think that it takes away from the movie. I think it adds to the movie and makes it a little more different than something we would watch today, in a good way.
I agree. I think that this movie still has something to say to everyone that's around right now in America. It kind of touches on the evils of one person being in charge as opposed to a committee, one guy having too much power. It talks about selfishness and narcissism, It also talks about how bad of a person you really want to be to get the things that you want, because it's all just money, and money isn't everything. It's like that quote that Sidney says in the first act when he's in his office with his secretary. This quote is like, there's all these things I want to get. I don't know.
Yeah, he says all the best things that are out there. That's what I want. That's what I'm going to have from now on.
That's it. Yeah. And then we immediately watch him do the worst things he possibly can just to get to that, just to make one guy who has power to open the doors for him.
Yeah. And meanwhile, he's getting fired by everybody. Like every 15 minutes in the movie, he's getting fired by another client. So how'd you feel about Sidney's fate at the end? I mean, spoiler alert. Sidney ends up taking some punches from the corrupt cops at the very end of the movie. Mm-hmm. Were you pleased? I mean, they do it in long shot at least, but...
I kind of wish that maybe Hunsaker had more repercussions for his actions. But I do think it was befitting of Sidney. I think he's someone who really needs to be punched in the face a couple times, honestly. Like, I think it might do him some good. So I feel like even though it would hurt him in the moment, if I knew him 10 years from that incident, he would probably be a better person.
Oh my God, hope for Sidney for the future.
Yeah.
No, he didn't deserve any hope for the future. Fuck that guy. But I do love him, though. I think he's awesome. But he shouldn't have good things happen to him if he's a real person. But, I mean, getting beat up by the cops, I guess that's the only issue I have with this movie, is that you don't really know how bad it was for Davis, and you don't really know how bad it was for Falco, right? It's like, oh, you getting beat up by the cops. Okay, well...
Right, because the cops beat up the guitarist earlier, beat up
right,
Davis.
Right.
He went to the hospital, right?
Yeah. Okay, so he gets beat up by the cops and he goes to the hospital. No, he's gonna die? All right, let's calm down. All right, it's not that big of a deal. You know what I'm saying? And the same thing happens with Sidney, right?
What feeling did the movie leave you with at the end?
Kind of gross. Nobody won, and I feel like everyone's a loser in this situation somehow.
I like movies like that where there's no winners. Everyone kind of lost. Mm-hmm. Everyone's kind of like putting out flames off of their body as they get out of hell, just barely making it, just damaged. I love movies like that. Like, I'm gonna watch this movie again.
That's the thing. It has something, right? You can find flaws with it and all that, but you're going to watch it again.
It's great,
Yeah, right.
David, what brings you back to it over and over? I mean, we'll get to our ratings and reviews, so you don't have to reveal everything, but what is it that made you want to select it?
There's nothing really like it, especially in that time period. In the 50s, almost all movies had these kind of fakey happy endings. And this film really breaks that mold. There are other films with down endings, so that's not it alone. But it's so cheerfully, relentlessly down on humanity in such a way that I find is fun. It's cool looking. I just enjoy it every time I see it. I enjoy watching these assholes duke it out. I enjoy seeing how low Tony Curtis can go. And
Kind of
I enjoy that.
risky role. Kind of a risky role for him at that point in his career.
For him and for Lancaster, both, really.
Yeah, and this movie wasn't like a critical success at the time. This wasn't even in the top 50 films of the year. I scrolled and I thought I did it wrong because I didn't see it anywhere on the list. And the top films of that year was like Bridge of River Kwai, Gunfight at the OK Corral, 12 Angry Men. The Seventh Seal was also put out that year.
Wow. Bergman.
Yeah, I won't say that I was on a Bergman kick right now, but okay, I saw Persona. But but yeah, they made it for 3.4 million or 2 million, but I think the 3.4 is for
adjusted for inflation type thing.
Yeah, for inflation. But then it says box office was 2.25 million. So it barely broke even, which is a flop, right? This movie didn't really go anywhere through audiences, but I guess the right people still loved it so much. Fans kept it alive, I guess. But now if you go to any of the film sites, they're all saying like, oh, it's a great movie and it's the finest of film noir and it's a classic. Rotten Tomatoes gives it 98% on the tomato meter.
Wow.
Oh.
And the popcorn's 91%. And so
For the audience, yeah.
Yeah,
and I think
so
IMDb, it's got like an 8. It's like a crazy number for IMDb.
Yeah, so it wasn't a crowd pleaser, but people recognized that it was something special and they remembered it, and it keeps getting brought back. And it's just continued to live on for the last, almost 70 years now. It hasn't died. So I guess my question is, you guys are film buffs. So, and maybe this film only lives on through film buffs. Maybe it'll never live on through anything more than just film buffs. But I guess for you guys, it's going to live another generation.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Kylie, what did you find out about the making of the movie?
Well, it was kind of very chaotic from the start. Like J.J. Hunsaker's character is based on Walter Winchell, who was a columnist. And this man inspired J.J. because Ernest Lehman, he actually used to work in publicity, which Falco worked in, and had experience with Winchell, and it became a novelette. And he also adapted it into a screenplay, which is the movie Sweet Smell of Success. He was set to write and direct it, but then he felt sick. So the studio hired Alexander McKendrick to direct, and then Alexander McKendrick was like, we're going to rewrite this film with the playwright Clifford Odette. And basically Odette just rewrote the entire thing from scratch, and it became the same story-ish, but then completely changed the dialogue for all the quotable stuff we already have talked about today. And it was incredibly chaotic because they just kind of rewrote things day of. And so Lancaster and Curtis were just kind of riffing off what Odette told them to say and trying to figure out how to do it. And it just became whatever sides you walked into on that day was not the sides you left with. Lancaster and Curtis had this power battle where no matter what Curtis wanted to do, Lancaster was like, well, I'm in charge, so it'll be me. So it kind of added like tension to their characters, I think, in a good way. But everyone had a different vision every single day. And it all worked out, I think. But yeah, it was just a very chaotic tension set of a lot of men who had different ideas of what to do. And it all started from a man who had nothing to do at the end. So I think that's very like kind of poetic to exactly what the movie is about. But one thing to note is James Wong Howe, he's the cinematographer. And doing the research, I learned that I watched it in color and it was filmed in black and white. And
You
then,
saw a colorized version?
yes, and I didn't know until I did research. They're talking about the beautiful black and whites and the hard lighting and the black silhouettes, and I was very confused. So I looked up a still, and it's black and white. So I can only assume that his cinematography is more beautiful than what I watched,
Oh,
because it was a colorized version. So
No wonder you thought it was campy. Well, I love that you hooked on to the guinea pig line, because I've seen this movie a few times and I never noticed it. And of course, in the back of my mind is always, well, Tony Curtis, his real name is Bernard Schwartz. He's Jewish, but audiences at the time didn't know that because he's a pretty boy. It doesn't fit their idea of what a Jewish man's supposed to look like.
He came and spoke to us
like,
he spoke to us at NYU in 1990. I saw him speak, and he was so sweet and funny, kind of charming, a little sad, and he was. I mean, he always talked about how the Boston Strangler was his best performance ever.
Oh, right, yeah.
Where he played that, he said, "I was in a lot of bad movies." He was kind of talking like that, but. And he was kind of big and puffy, but he literally grew up around the corner from NYU. He grew up down on Mott Street.
oh wow,
Right.
Yeah.
I like
Real New
Tony
York
Curtis. But yeah, it cracked me up because I'm like, why are they making him Italian? I'm so confused.
Jews, Italians.
Interchangeable.
There's a movie called Crisscross. It's a film noir where he just plays like a guy who dances with Yvonne Craig, the lead actress, but he's so striking. He's so young, so handsome, such a good dancer. She's gorgeous, but very exotic looking.
It's called Crisscross?
Crisscross, yeah. It's
I'll add to my letterbox list.
Lancaster's the lead.
Oh, really?
Yeah. It's a really interesting noir.
They're buried in the same cemetery?
Here in Hollywood?
Forest Lawn?
Westwood Memorial. Which
Oh,
is also...
wow.
Is that on
Which
Wilshire?
is also...
Field trip.
Yeah, it's on Wilshire and Westwood. It's a little bit hidden, just south of Wilshire, near Westwood Boulevard. And Alexander McKendrick, the director of this movie, is also buried there.
Wow.
Oh, wow.
As is Marilyn Monroe.
Can you visit those? Because I always wanted
Yeah,
to.
if you can find it. So here's a hint to our listeners. It's on the southeast corner of Westwood and Wilshire. You have to go on foot and look around because there's no sign. It's hidden away.
Yeah.
David, what do you got for us about director Alexander McKendrick? A kind of interesting choice for this movie because he's not an American.
That's right. He was born in Boston, but he was raised in Glasgow, and he was Scottish. And he worked his way up in London's famous Ealing Studios, where Peter Sellers made a lot of incredible comedies. In 1949, he made Whiskey Galore. In 1951, he wrote and directed a film called The Man in the White Suit, and he was nominated for an Oscar for his screenplay. That stars Alec Guinness. And in 1958, he made really one of my favorite British comedies of all time called The Lady Killers, which is a film that I really recommend. Anyone who hasn't seen it, see the 1955 version of The Lady Killers. The Coen brothers, who are incredibly talented, remade this film. And as a sign of how great the original film is, they didn't come close to the quality of the original film. So I know why they wanted to remake it, because it's so good. But that's one where they couldn't match what McKendrick did. So in that way, McKendrick really was a great craftsman, a real auteur. He really controlled every aspect of his films while still allowing chaos and surprise at times to blend in. You see that a lot in this film, Sweet Smell of Success. Lady Killers has some of that too. And if you watch Lady Killers, it's beautifully shot. The color is beautiful. The acting is just superb. Again, he was a writer. And even in films where he didn't write them, he made sure that the storytelling was really crisp. So he was not very prolific, and he never had a blockbuster film. But I still think he's a director to really be reckoned with. He really hated the business part of the film business and had troubles with it. In the 60s, he was fired from the Guns of Navarone. He had a project called Mary Queen of Scots, which was going to star Mia Farrow and Oliver Reed. It was canceled a month before shooting. And he finally gave it all up and left directing to teach filmmaking at CalArts in Los Angeles.
Oh, wow.
Where he became a very, very beloved professor and dean of filmmaking at CalArts, where he worked until his death in 1993 at the age of 81.
What a great professor that would have been to have.
Yes.
We'll be right back with our panel's recommendations and ratings for Sweet Smell of Success.
Good night, itchy eyes. Good night, sudden sneeze. Good night to your symptoms of allergies. Xyzal is the allergy medicine you take before bed. It provides powerful relief while you rest your head. Not just all night, but all the next day. Xyzal keeps working, keeping allergies at bay. And without those annoying symptoms disturbing your rest, you can wake up the next morning feeling your absolute best. Remember, be wise all, take Xyzal. At night.
New Vitamin Water Zero Sugar Pineapple Passion Fruit is packed with vitamins. Just like the amount of peas we packed in that sentence. It's packed like your tote bag. The one you stole from your ex. Or your overpriced half a studio apartment. Or extra rushed rush hour traffic. Packed like your calendar. Triple booked at 5, of course. Grab a Vitamin Water. Did we mention it's packed with vitamins?
Hey guys, it's time for our ratings and recommendations. I'm going to start with Guy this time.
You always start with me, man.
I do?
Yeah, but this time you start.
But this time, I'm gonna go first.
Oh, you think I do ladies first? Oh, you think I do ladies first? No. So, Guy, who would you recommend this movie to?
Everyone should watch every movie ever made. Just on general, just go watch a movie. Watch them all, right? But in particular towards this one, if you like the film noir style, if you know what it is, then this is a good movie for that. If you like period movies, this one rocks. It's slick. I don't know people who wouldn't like this movie. So this is an easy 3.5 for me. But there's only been a couple of movies on this podcast that I didn't give a 3.5 to. They're all been awesome, but this one is an easy 3.5.
Well, on behalf of David and myself, you're welcome.
But no, really, no, seriously, that's real talk because you guys made my film knowledge grow exponentially. Thanks. But yeah, this movie slapped.
Yeah, don't cut that out, David.
All right, I'll leave it in. We're great.
I'll cut that out. Kylie, who would you recommend this movie to, and what's your rating?
So I recommend this movie to people who are fans of It's Always Sunny because that show is famous for rooting for bad characters and bad people and getting enjoyment out of it. And I feel like it's a really smart audience, honestly. I think they would really enjoy this movie, even though it's totally different tone. I think it'd be really fun to root for a different type of bad character group. So I think they will definitely really like this and probably get some of the same laughs out of the dialogue as we all did. And then also to anyone who kind of likes more of a bleak ending and not always a happy fairy tale ending, and kind of wants to have more of those realistic little ends to stories. And I would probably rate it a 3, honestly. I really liked the movie. I think it wasn't one of my favorites, but I do enjoy it for what I saw of it.
David, your turn.
So I'll give it a 3.5 as well. It's in a class by itself. Yeah, it's true. There's a whole genre of things like It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia or even Seinfeld, where basically all the characters are kind of bad people, and we get enjoyment out of them worming their way through life. And this film is in that genre, but it's more than that because of the quality of the dialogue, the photography, the music, the whole feeling of it. It's just got a very special thing. The other reason it's a 3.5 star movie is something that Mark keeps saying. It's a classic if you can keep returning to it with no diminution of pleasure. I may have only seen it 3 or 4 times, so it's not like something I watch every year. But still, every time it comes on, I can enjoy every scene and get a kind of jolt of pure pleasure from how bad these people are and how groovy the film looks. So that's my 3.5.
I feel myself struggling between the 3 and the 3.5 stars, but here's what kind of tips it over for me to the 3.5 and what makes it really pleasurable. As everyone's been saying, all the elements are amazing. The acting's really great. I love the way not just the streets are shot, but the way the characters are shot. There's a real solidness to the way that James Wong Howe shoots characters. Go check out a movie, HUD, which is another great one that he did. And he just was like a master at really making things feel like you could reach out and grab them. And, you know, Burt Lancaster's chin, like the whole thing to me is really, really beautifully shot. And I love the way he shoots the jazz club and Chico Hamilton and all that. But the thing that really takes it over the top for me is the music. And it's not just because the music's good, but because it gives the movie an energy that propels you through the whole thing. That bad things are happening, but they're happening at a groovy pace with a kick-ass soundtrack in the background. And so, all right, I'm going to watch some bad people. Thank you for giving me a soundtrack that I would listen to and have listened to even when I'm not watching the movie. So for me, that's what tips it over into the 3.5 stars.
Our average is 3.5 stars.
Sweet Smell of Success is available with a subscription to Canopy and also pops up on other services. It's available for rent or purchase various places as well. It's also available on DVD and Blu-ray. You can find Film Generations wherever you listen to your favorite podcasts. If you like our show, please tell your friends and rate and review us so others can find it as well. I'd like to thank our panelists, Kylie LaRue and Guy Lewis, and our co-host and producer, David Taussig. Film Generations is an Electrocast production. Our executive producers are Mark Netter and Peter Rafelson. For our next episode, we're going to stick with journalists, but this time they're the heroes. A Republican president has been reelected in a definitive victory, but now appears to be a crook, setting off a constitutional crisis while attempting to suppress news of his criminal acts with cover-ups and threats. Does this sound familiar? Well, let's see if history really does repeat when we look at Alan Pakula's 1976 adaptation of Washington Post reporters Woodward and Bernstein's All the President's Men, starring Robert Redford and Dustin Hoffman as much more handsome versions of those two reporters. Will our panel of young film lovers elect this movie in a landslide or vote for impeachment? Check out the results on our next episode of Film Generations.
Electrocast.
Listen. That's the sound of the fully electric Audi Q6 e-tron. The sound of captivating electric performance, dynamic drive, and the quiet confidence of ultra-smooth handling. The elevated interior reminds you this is more than an EV. This is electric performance redefined. The fully electric Audi Q6 e-tron.
Hey everybody, Diego here from the Candle Power Hour and Candle Power Records. Together with Electrocast Records, we proudly present Imperial Highway, a California sampler. 15 singles tracked by artists all based in California. Every song on Imperial Highway is mastered to deliver. Rock and roll is back, and we got what you want. If you're craving new music, Imperial Highway hits the spot. Download Imperial Highway. Check us out at candlepowerrecords.com and listen to the Candle Power Hour on Electrocast.